Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Healthy Aging Network. Today we're going to be talking with Danielle Murphy from the Ohio Attorney General's office, and we're going to be reviewing some senior scams, so please stay tuned. Hi, and thank you for joining today for the Healthy Aging Network. Today we're going to be doing an episode on senior scams with the Ohio Attorney General's office, and Danielle Murphy is a consumer educator with the department. So Danielle, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll let you go into your presentation.
Yes, hello. Thanks for having me today. My name is Danielle Murphy, and I am a consumer educator with the Consumer Protection section of the Ohio Attorney General's office. Some of the duties of what we do is we write educational materials and we publish those to try to help consumers stay safe in the marketplace as well as from scams. We also do these types of presentations to also educate seniors and other consumers on how to stay safe from scams, identity theft, computer safety. So those are some of the things that I get to do for the office.
Great, thank you very much. So can you tell me a little bit about, you said you work with the Consumer Protection Division. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Consumer Protection section, we ensure a safe marketplace for consumers. And we do that in a couple different ways. We enforce laws related to buying a vehicle, seeing a store advertisement, or home improvement work. Well, as I said, I'm Danielle Murphy with the Ohio Attorney General's office. Before I start talking about scams and how to not become a victim of those scams, I just want to tell you a little bit about our office. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost is our 51st Attorney General. And some of the duties of his office is that he's the attorney for the state of Ohio. Now, that doesn't mean you can call him for personal representation to dispute a speeding violation, right? What it means is he represents all state elected officials, including the governor's office, the secretary of state's office, and the treasurer of state's office. Our office also supports local law enforcement, and we do this in a couple different ways. We have the Police Officers Training Academy, which is in London, Ohio, and there officers across the state get the training that they need to make sure Ohio citizens are safe. They have a gun range and a high-speed track and many other classes to make sure those officers are up to date and current. We also support local law enforcement through our Bureau of Criminal Investigation Office, or BCI. So I'm sure many of you out there like to watch NCIS or CSI, those crime scene shows, right? Well, that's what BCI does. We solve crimes and homicides through DNA analysis and fingerprint analysis. However, it does take our office longer than that hour to solve those crimes. Our office also enforces certain laws that are passed by the General Assembly, and those laws include environmental protections, charitable organizations, and consumer protections. And I'm here today from the Consumer Protection section of the office. We want to ensure a safe marketplace for consumers, so we enforce laws that are related to buying a vehicle, seeing a store advertisement, or home improvement work. This will give you an example of some of the complaints that come into our unit section. In 2019, as you can see, motorized vehicles is one of the most common complaints that we receive. And also, if you notice, number 8, identity theft is on there. And that has been a problem. It's been on our most common complaints list since 2014, and it has continued to stay on there. We also have our Economic Crimes Unit, which helps local authorities identify, investigate, and prosecute consumer fraud of the criminal nature. So let me give you an example of someone that they helped prosecute. Patrick Wilson. This gentleman is a home improvement contractor in southeastern Ohio, and he's facing 70 criminal charges. What he did is he allegedly stole more than $400,000 from homeowners. He would get work for putting up pole barns or decks, and then he would tell those homeowners that he needed a down payment of money so that he could go get the equipment or the materials that he needed to do the work. And unfortunately, he never delivered that material, and he just took off. So this is someone that our economic crimes unit was able to help prosecute and put behind bars for their crimes. One of our newest initiatives and units, our robocall enforcement unit. And the goal for this unit is to make Ohio the toughest state for robocallers to operate in. One of the biggest tips that we want to tell people is if you don't know who's calling, just don't answer. That's how we can protect ourselves from robocalls. If they're not in your contacts, just don't answer. And you can help us to try to create a database for our robocall unit by texting ROBO to 888-111. And then we can start tracing some of these calls and hopefully stopping them. Obviously, there are legal robocalls. Some of those calls we all like, right? We need those reminders that our dentist appointment is coming up, or maybe there's inclement weather and there's no school that day. We like those kind of robocalls. It's those pesky illegal robocalls when they're trying to get you to pay for something or give out your personal information. So again, our biggest tip here is just don't answer. But I'm here today to talk about seniors, and seniors ages 60 and up represent about 15% of the population, but unfortunately create more than 30% of the reported fraud. Well, the FBI wanted to know why exactly seniors are targeted, and so they did a survey. One of the main reasons is seniors are trusting and polite. I know that a senior has been raised very different than the millennial grandchildren or great-grandchildren, right? A handshake is a senior's word. And so also these scammers know that and they prey on that. Also, seniors have worked hard putting away money and investing for a nice retirement. So many times seniors have more assets than the younger population. Also, seniors are less likely to report that fraud. There's a couple different reasons why. One of the reasons may just be that they're not even aware that they've been scammed, or they're just too terribly embarrassed to tell someone. Also, seniors can be independent and isolated, and unfortunately with this COVID pandemic out there, seniors are even more independent and isolated. And so scammers know that seniors want to talk and they're lonely, and so they reach out by the phone and they try to get that money from seniors. Scammers use a variety of tactics to get to us. Here are some of the things that you need to watch out for. And if you do run across some of these tactics, you'll remember that this could be a scam. If they request a wire transfer, a prepaid money card, or a gift card as a form of a payment, more than likely it's a scam. If they request any personal information, you don't have to do business over the phone and give out personal information. You can hang up and tell the person that you'd be happy to get back to them when you have time, and then go in, or you make that phone call looking up the legitimate phone number. Another tactic is pressure to act immediately. Those scare tactic scams, right? It's the IRS and you're in trouble and they're gonna come and arrest you, and so you have to pay the money right now just to get out of it. They don't want you to take the time to think through. They wanna catch you off guard, and they want you to just go ahead and immediately react. Request to keep the conversation a secret. We see this in a couple different scams that are out there. The grandparent scam, which I'll talk to you about more in a couple slides, but this is where your grandson or your granddaughter's in trouble and they need help. They need you to send money to get them out of a situation. We also see where they ask you not to tell people because they don't want you talking to other people. So we see it in the romance scam or the sweetheart scam. They say, don't tell anyone, this is our secret. That would be a scam if you hear those tactics. Guarantee to make money. We're all financially driven, right? We're working, we're trying to get a paycheck, and scammers know that we probably could use a little extra money, and so they use that as one of their tactics. Request for a large down payment. Like I told you with Patrick Wilson, he asked for large sums of money up front before actually doing the work. You wouldn't have to do that. If you have somebody come to your home to do work, you put a third of the money down at the beginning. When it's halfway through, another third, and then wait until the job is completed to your satisfaction before spending the rest of the money for the job. If there's no contract or nothing written into the contract, so for example, maybe you're in the market for a vehicle and you go take it for a test drive, and the salesman says, well, today and today only, I'm going to take $1,200 off if you purchase it today. I would make sure that you would put that in writing, because at the end of the day, it's their word against your word. And so you would want to get something in writing. And if that business or that salesman does not put something like that in writing, they're not an upstanding business, and you don't want to do business with them anyway. And obviously, another big red flag is sending money out of the country. So let's go ahead and talk about the scams that we're seeing right here in Ohio. And the first one is the grandparent scam. And I'm going to play a news clip from the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell about how a senior was scammed. And we'll talk about some tactics and some things that we can do to protect ourselves from this scam.
All right, a warning tonight about deceptive thieves robbing elderly victims, sometimes on their own doorsteps. We'll show you how the scam works and reveal inside secrets from a con man who pulled it off many times. Carter Evans reports tonight.
Hello.
You're watching a scam artist in action.
Okay, bye-bye.
He just took $10,000 from Barbara McCullough. It all started with a phone call from someone claiming to be her grandson.
I said, you know, you really doesn't sound like you, but he said, I have a horrible cold. Then he started crying.
The caller said he needed bail money fast.
I went down to the bank and drew $10,000 out.
What's unusual is the scammer was caught on a security camera.
How often does one actually come to the victim's home?
This is only the second time in the 15 years that I've been working in these types of crimes.
Grandparent scams are one of the fastest growing crimes, and they all begin with a cry for help.
Hi, Grandpa. Hi. You know who this is? Randy? Yeah.
Nationwide, seniors are cheated out of nearly $3 billion a year. That's the official estimate.
I've heard upwards of $10 billion every single year because a lot of these crimes aren't reported because a lot of times they're very ashamed.
You can make 10 grand sometimes in a day if you do it properly.
A few years ago, I interviewed a con man in federal custody about his scam.
Once you get them emotionally involved, then they'll do anything for you.
I felt flattered that he even called me. Well, he called me. He didn't want to upset his parents. That's what I thought.
Detectives are now trying to track down that scam artist, and they say seniors should try and verify who's calling by asking a very personal question that only a family member would know the answer to, and also call a relative before handing over any money. Nora?
That's good information, Carter. Thank you.
So that's exactly what we see in the grandparent scam. So what we would suggest to you, for you to do is you be the one asking the questions. Don't answer all the questions. And also you want to maybe talk to your family members about coming up with a code word or a nickname or something that only your family's going to know about your immediate family, just to confirm. And then confirm with family. This day and age, we all have cell phones, or many of us do. Maybe we even have a landline. If for some reason something's just telling you this doesn't sound like it's, really happening, then I would just call up your grandchild to make sure and see if they really are in trouble. And then we say, don't send money. So I have another small video clip about the imposter scam, and this scam tends to change from time to time. So we'll listen to this video clip and I'll tell you what trend we've been seeing it change to lately.
Explain that to me again, please.
All right, here's the deal. I'm gonna pretend I'm with the IRS. I'm gonna say you owe back taxes and threaten you with jail time. That'll scare you into giving me a whole bunch of your money. I also need your social security number too, because then I can really take you to the cleaners.
Unfortunately, it's never this obvious. That's why we're here, dedicated to protecting Ohio families against frauds and scams. Get the facts you need today at ohioprotects.org.
So that's what we were seeing with the imposter scam, and we still do see that from time to time. But one of the things that has changed is now the imposter is the Social Security office. And what they say is it's the Social Security office. You're not going to get your benefits if you don't give us your Social Security number, or maybe they'll try to say in an email or on the phone that your Social Security card is expired and you need a new one. Those things will never happen, and the Social Security office or the IRS will never call you on the phone. The other unfortunate thing is we can't trust our caller ID any longer. These scammers can download an app called spoofing, and they can put any phone number and any business they want to appear on your caller ID. So let me give you an example of how this happened to someone. Diane from Lancaster called our office and said one morning she was sitting at her kitchen table having coffee when the phone rang. So before she answered it, she looked at the caller ID, and it said it was the Columbus Police Department with a 614 area code. She immediately picked it up. Hello, Grandma? Jake, is that you? And so now you see it was a scammer doing the grandparent scam like I had just talked to you about, and they spoofed the caller ID. So don't trust the caller ID and don't provide personal information. And you should always look up the legitimate number of who's saying they're calling you. Don't ever call back the number that shows up on caller ID and or the number that they give you. Another scam that we see is the prizes and sweepstakes scam. So we're all not only financially driven, but we're also gift driven, right? And these are some great prizes right here that you can win. So what we would say is there are some legitimate sweepstakes out there, but if they're asking for, advance fees or taxes before you can even get the prize, more than likely it's not a legitimate organization. The other thing is that you want to try to remember is if you didn't enter the sweepstakes, how can you win the sweepstakes and the prizes, right? So my dad called me one day on a Friday at noon, and he said, guess what? And I said, what, Dad? He says, Publishers Clearinghouse is coming next Monday at noon. And I said, really, Dad? They're coming? He says, they're going to come. I know it. So long story short, I waited till Monday at 3 and called him, and they did not come. So if you didn't enter it, you more than likely will not be winning it. The fake check scam. My husband just received a check for like $30,000 about 5 months ago, just out of the blue. So these scams and tactics are good. These checks look legitimate. These are some of the ways that they can use the fake check scam is, oh, you paid too much, and so, or I paid too much and sent you money for that item accidentally. Can you go ahead and just send it back with your account? Or those work from home scams where they'll send you a fake check and you have to go buy all the products or the envelopes to stuff the envelopes and the stamps, and then that's how they get you there. There are certain things you can look at on a check to see if it is real. This is an example of always at the bottom of the numbers the last set of numbers should be the check number. And as you can see here, they put the check numbers as the first set of the numbers. So there are certain things that you can look out for to just see if it even looks like a real check. Another scam that we see that hit Ohio hard about 7 years ago is our computer repair scam. And I have a short video clip to give you an example of this scam that will play.
Hello? Hello, this is Bobby with tech support. Yeah, I'm just gonna need you to give me complete access to your computer so I can pretend to remove a virus while actually taking all your personal and financial information. Oh, and I'm gonna lock a computer, so you have to pay me to access it. Sound good?
Unfortunately, it's never this obvious. That's why we're here, dedicated to protecting Ohio families against frauds and scams. Get the facts you need today at ohioprotects.org.
So that's the computer repair scam, and what we're seeing now is sometimes what happens is you get a pop-up on your computer screen and it says you have a virus and you need to run your virus protection. If somebody asks to take remote control access of your computer, never allow them to do that, because they could put viruses and malware on your computer and then you'll have even more damage. And so remember, callers can't tell if you have a virus on your computer unless they have access to it. And don't just click on any pop-ups that come up on your computer. So another scam is relationship scams. And as you saw in the video clip of the felon who was in custody for scams that he was committing, if you make a relationship or tug at someone's heart, those are all signs that it could be wrong. And then of course, if they ask for money up front, you know it's not a legitimate, maybe romance scam or somebody calling because they're in trouble and they need help. Just a couple things on staying safe on the computer, and then we'll end up here. Make sure to maintain a clean computer by installing and updating antivirus and anti-spyware programs. Delete suspicious emails. Beware of unknown attachments, downloads, and links. Watch for scam websites and pop-ups. Don't provide personal information over public Wi-Fi. Make sure you have a secure Wi-Fi in your home. So I'm going to just show here some of the things that you want to always do and never do. One of my biggest tips for people is, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. And then here are some of the ways that you can contact your office. If you have a dispute with a company or a business, you can file a complaint with our office. We offer an informal dispute resolution process where we will have a complaint specialist work with you and that business to try to get the resolution you desire. And that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope that you've learned a lot and that you don't get scammed.
Danielle, thank you so much for sharing that very valuable information. We really appreciate your time. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact the Ohio Attorney General's office at the information on your screen. Thank you.